Okay, so one of the things I wanted to demo for you before we get started with building the actual virtual machine itself and installing everything is what our end product is supposed to be. So this is the workspace that I use not only for my own development, but also for some of my cybersecurity work on IoT devices and vulnerability assessment, botnets, things like that. So you may see some artifacts of me taking IoT firmware and ripping them or using that. That'll be from this firmware analysis toolkit and things like that. So anyway, if you see something called a Ripper or whatever, that's that. Um, anyway, what we've gotten here is Visual Studio Code. And I just have a little sample bit of PHP in here. I may include just a file like this that you can grab. And the whole point is I can just right click on this. I can serve the project. And it should, yep, there is Firefox. Just a little slow. And you can see what's going on with your PHP. Yours will look a lot better and more complicated, but this just kind of gives you an indication that everything's up and running. So the other thing that you're going to get some experience with over the course of the semester is using bash. You may need sudo for a lot of these commands. So if I mess up on that, you'll see it, and I'll try not to cut it out so you can see me fixing mistakes as well. We want to see the status of some of these bits of software that we're installing. So you want green to be in some of these services. When you see something like this, you can just hit Q and that'll quit. It'll get you out of there. You want to make sure that some of these services are running. We'll be installing what's called the LAMP server. So we're using Linux, which is the L. We're using Ubuntu. The A is Apache. The M is MySQL or MariaDB. It's one database, like one relational database service, typically MySQL. The P is PHP, and then we're going to be using PHP MyAdmin as well. And the way that we can test that is you can just go localhost PHP MyAdmin. And as you can see, now I've got a password on here. It's super secure. I think it's like CS230, or it's CS230 lab, yeah. Now, under no circumstances are you to use this in a production environment. You would want a much better password than that. But for the purposes of our lab, it needs to be something that you can remember, something that we will also write down, which is also a practice that is highly frowned upon. We'll be creating databases in here and try to do a lot of it graphically for you guys because there's really just not enough time for me to teach you enough SQL and for you to have enough experience with between learning that and PHP and all the other classes that you're doing. So this kind of simplifies everything. And then I can just do sudo. All right, and as you can see, you can go into MySQL. There's all kinds of functions and features and stuff, and we'll get to that as we start building out our project throughout the semester. I'll show you the kind of finished product of what you guys will end up with, or more or less like a sample of what I'll be showing you and what you can end up with as we proceed along as well. But for today, we're going to set up the VM. We're going to get all of our servers and everything on here. We're going to get PHP on here. You'll be setting the paths for some of the stuff, like for virtual machine, VS Code. All of your files will end up in bin. Yeah. And then it's PHP. Somewhere in here. Anyway, We'll get to that as we go along. I also have a set of notes here. You're going to want to take a little set of notes as well, and you'll be using this at the end of the semester, not in note format. We'll be making a bash script out of this stuff so that we can basically just run that script on our AWS instance, and we can download everything pretty much automated, or in an automated fashion. And this also kind of helps us keep track of what we're installing and some of the passwords and stuff like that, just to kind of keep everything in one place and make sure that you guys have easy access throughout the lab and we don't have to keep resetting and re-downloading things. So anyway, yeah, that's it. The next video will be on actually building the virtual machine. I'm just going to power this guy down.